Hi Salesforce. Um, Trying out a new layout with the video. Hopefully, it becomes better on YouTube. But yeah, so let's see how this one works out, and then I think you guys can also just comment on below and see if this worked out. But oh yeah, I keep forgetting to add. Please like and subscribe. It will help the channel grow. So earlier on, I spoke about a medical sales rep, and so now I think I'll be looking at a sales engineer. So this is one of those ones where it's quite tricky to figure out if this is actually a good sales route or a good way into the industry, because I find that in an industry where you're dealing with a lot of technical people, and in an industry where you are your proficiency in the technical knowledge is so important and there's so much competition, it becomes difficult to BS your way through it. And specifically if you're dealing with decision makers, project managers, buyers of any sort, business development managers who would rather work with a small network of suppliers. Um, Unlike insurance sales, I'm also looking at medical sales at some point. That you could BS your way through it, because at the end of the day, I think the doctors know or the buyers know it's just a lot of much over muchness. Um, but with the engineering stuff, it becomes difficult because you find that a lot of the original equipment that's manufactured is either manufactured just in time, imported, or there's a select amount of people that distribute it. And if let's say a developer gets a project, they've got a certain time frame to do it, and come to you as a supplier for pumps or whatever it may be, and you guys aren't able to deliver on time, or your rep is actually doesn't understand the mechanics behind the project and is delivering the wrong or quoting the wrong type of equipment needed, whether it's ventilation, heating, that kind of stuff, fridges. I think on this one, from what I can see online, on LinkedIn, PNet. I've been locked out of PayScale, so maybe I'll try tomorrow. On this one, it's better to get, I would assume, to make sure that you've got at least 2 3 years of um, technical industry experience. So whether you volunteered at your local engineering company, or whether you went and internship at an engineering company where they literally manufactured the stuff. We've got a lot of industrial parks in the area. South Africa, unfortunately, is a country where projects are few and not as the industry is not as booming as it used to be going into 2010. But I don't know, Rama Billions and guys they talk a good game about projects coming up, but it's a lot of paperwork. So I don't know. We'll see in the next year or two what happens. The engineering, the renewable companies as well, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would suggest that if you're going to come out of matric and you would want to go into an engineering space, and you don't want to be, and you're not sure if it's the space for you, or you unsure of how to tackle the route and you end up in the sales route, then definitely what I can see so far, the guys that have on LinkedIn that have taken gotten diplomas in a specific engineering field, and then what they've also done, they've also had some experience of some sort at a local engineering firm, worked their way up, completed BCom engineering, business administration, BCom marketing of some sort, and ended up in one of your major engineering companies. So I used to work at an events company, and we used to host, or they still do. They're just called a different name now. Host one of the largest power and power and renewables or utilities events on the continent. So massive, massive players, big sponsors, big developers, big project managers, big consulting companies. And what we found was that it was always the smaller engineering companies, smaller in market cap, obviously. The small engineering companies fighting for tenders, projects, suppliers, that kind of stuff, to be in the value chain. And there would always be reps on the floor who would discuss what the equipment does. So at the end of the day, like any other sales job, your job is networking. I always remember one guy called Marlon. He used to work for, I'm not sure if he still does, but when I used to speak to him, he worked for ESCOM, and I really appreciated the time he had with me. You sit down and speak to me about how his industry works, kind of like being a procurement guy, being in the sales function, business development function. A lot of the guys have got certain requirements to meet from a BEE function, and it was just an interesting way to discuss the procurement aspects. So field engineering or sales engineering is a tricky one for me to really grasp, whether it be solar panels, whether you're doing the fridges, the ventilation, um, you know, yeah, I think this one is going to be a bit of a gist, because I need to speak to more people about it. I know I've got a friend that's in the defense sector, um, and he speaks about how they source well, not how, but the general gist of how the procurement works, and the kind of competition that you have. And you know unlike the insurance sector, where your competition is most likely local, because they meet the local requirements by law. And you probably find that a lot of the guys have to train and be have like some kind of legislation they have to pass, training, certification, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to engineering sales, you could fight suppliers from China, you could fight suppliers from India, which are gonna undercut South African manufacturers significantly. You could fight suppliers from Europe, and obviously everyone's gonna need a local distributor of some sort in South Africa. But that's what I'm trying to say, is that even though you can go to your local industrial park and find someone who's importing or manufacturing a specific type of equipment, you know, if there's no projects, you guys aren't making money. Once I met a guy that he had a local engineering company. He had a branch here in the town that I used to live in Mpumalanga, and then he had another branch in the Eastern Cape. So he was specifically looking at the power utilities, power, local power, independent supplier projects, and he specifically imported a massive, massive unit, and then he manufactured locally a specific function that unit needed. So his job was to make sure that he had a small team, he managed his costs low, and then he kept his project developers happy. So once a year, he would take the guys flying. He was a pilot, so he always said that instead of wasting money in his business, what he would do in terms of burning cash, what he would do is study something. So he studied to be a pilot. So when the developers were around and they needed to go somewhere far in the province, he would pick them up from the airport, go to the local, pick them up when they came in, flew in from Joburg or whatever, and then take them to the local helipad, port, or whatever it may be, and then he'd fly them far out instead of driving them there. And then they would scope the area, look it around, and that kind of stuff. So obviously, you as the engineer won't be flying around, or the field sales engineer won't be flying around. But I think it will be your job to kind of make sure that you know who your local players are, where are the projects, attend tender meetings, that kind of stuff. So it's a difficult space to play in, whether it be pumps, electrical valves, refrigeration, ventilation. It's not. This is not my sphere of competence. So excuse me if I get any terms wrong, but it's still a very technical space. South Africa and Africa as a whole still has a lot of room to grow, but the competition is rife. You need to know, you have to have trust in the government to build. It's a long process, but the payoff is significant. There's a guy that I know who's busy selling large scale independent power producing functions to commercial farmers. So that's also in play at the moment. There's obviously mines, commercial properties, those kind of large power producers. So is there room for growth? Yes. Is South Africa the right market for it? Yes. Is it the right time to be a sales engineer? Maybe not, because of the lack of projects and what I see online and general news. But why not? If the renewable sector, and like I said, if the government is promising you have to believe in the government. But if the government will deliver what they say they're going to do about their power, and if Eskom is really working as hard as they can to produce this kind of power, then the scope is there. If black commercial farmers come up, mid-sized farmers come up, if the current commercial farmers need to reduce their reliance on Eskom, because once the power goes out, the pumps, then they're not able to use their pumps. They're not able to irrigate their plants, and then pumps are blowing up because the electricity will go off, and then the power will come back and blow the pump, that kind of stuff. So then, yeah, a sales engineer, whether it's electrical, water, whatever, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, try it out. Find your local space, find your local technicon. I wouldn't suggest spending too much money on your qualification, as long as you're technically competent. But if you're in matric and you want to go into the engineering space, try internship. Go to your local industrial park and see if you can help out and watch. See if they're not going to let you help out. See if you can watch. If they're not going to let you watch, ask questions and see if you can interview some guys on the ground, the owner, how he built his business, and then see if this works for you. But a sales engineer seems interesting. The mining companies are making money. Not sure how the sales engineers would be involved in there, but I'm sure that they obviously they use a lot of heavy engineering equipment. So yeah, sales engineer. Let me know if I'm talking nonsense on this one, guys and girls. Please comment, please engage. Remember to like and share, and happy selling and good luck with the close. Cheers.